the exact time, I will start my lecture. In last lecture, then I just lecture on the water portion and the effect. Now in this lecture, then how do you control? How to control water portion? It's not easy one, very difficult one. To control water portion is very difficult one. Then how do you control water portion? Uh, Control measure of water pollution, wastewater treatment, stabilization of ecosystem, appropriate site for drinking water, appropriate laws, and recycling of waste. By doing these three things, the all things, then we can control water pollution. Now, first is wastewater treatment, the process to remove contaminants from wastewater or sewage. That treatment involves three steps. Number one is primary treatment, secondary treatment, and tertiary treatment, and one by one. Then the primary treatment, and this type of treatment is used to remove large amount of suspended organic or inorganic solid from liquid, polluted water. In this method, continuous flowing tanks are used, or sometimes chemicals such as alum, sulfate, etc. are used for settling the suspended matter. And when the contaminated water is allowed to pass through continuous tank and on moving, then heavy particle will settle down at the bottom of the continuous tank. Or in place of that continuous tank, then you can use alum, sulfate. And the main purpose of this chemical is to settle down the organic or inorganic compound present in the water. Better is to use continuous flowing tank. And due to gravitational forces, the last particle, insoluble particle, will settle down at the bottom of that tank, and collected impurities in this tank can be removed at regular interval. And better to use continuous tank, continuous flowing tank in comparison to chemicals. Either we can use alum persulfate, and purpose of this chemical is to coagulate the inorganic or organic. Next is secondary treatment, and it's also called biological treatment. Why? Because then in this process, then use of large mass of microorganisms is done to break down organic matter in stable. From this process, then organic matter can be removed, not all. And from secondary treatment, then by using large mass of microorganism, then we remove organic matter. And this method involves aeration and oxidation of suspended organic matter by adding active slows, that is large mass of microorganism. And so this process is called active slough process. The active slough brings about the oxidation of suspended organic matter and settling of oxidized product in suspended tank. In this way, from this treatment, then only organic matter can be removed by using large amount of microorganism. This is known as slough. And advantage of this active storage is to run this process, then lab setup is very easy one, because the the, the location required for this is very less, and this is very flexible in operation, and it requires low cost in maintenance. And the for oxidation, then atmospheric oxygen can be used, and effluent can be controlled, and dimension of the proposed plant is length 2.5 feet, breadth zero point 0.0 feet, and height point is the proposed plant uh, for carrying the active slot. Then large amount of location not needed. So life cycle is very easy one. And next is the tertiary treatment, and this is the last treatment. Last treatment in wastewater treatment, the advanced treatment in which those contaminants removed which are not removed in primary and secondary removed. But the contaminant not removed in primary and secondary treatment, and the on remove contaminant can be removed from that process. And to carry out this treatment, the first of all you have to do test for water. Then on that basis, then you can use treatment to run any treatment process. That first of all you have to check the water. The on the basis of um, the testing of water, then you can follow the primary, secondary and tertiary treatment. And it's involved physical and chemical method for settling or separation process. The commonly used methods: precipitation, filtration, chemical oxidation, ion exchange, electrolysis, reverse osmosis, adsorption. Then which method you have to apply is based on what materials are present in the water. The first of all, on the basis of test done, then you can use the process. For example, if water contains phosphorus compound, then this process is applied. And when this process is applied by treating with the lime calcium oxide, and calcium oxide reacts with phosphorus compound and change into precipitate of phosphate, and PPTs are insoluble, and when that can be removed by means of filtration. In this way, if water contain compound of phosphorus, and in this case, then lime is used for precipitation, and lime can react with phosphorus compound and convert into the PPT of phosphate. And phosphate PPTs are insoluble and can be removed easily. Now, next is chemical oxidation and carried by treating effluent with strong oxidizing agent like ozone, hydrogen peroxide, fluorescence. The potent which can be oxidized, if then we can use this method. Ion exchange, and this exchange is used for removal of ion like calcium iron, etc. And for example, the removal of hardness caused by calcium and magnesium ion. And same process is used. And in this case, using natural materials such as zeolite or synthetic materials like ion exchange. And main function of this process is to exchange the harmful ion present in water with that sodium ion, sodium zeolite. Then ion exchange contains the next ion, and that ion will replaces the harmful ion present in the water. For example, the removal of temporary hardness or permanent hardness. The hardness is caused by calcium, magnesium ion, and from that process we can remove iron, soluble ion present in water. And next is electrolysis. And in this case, the current is developed, and after developing current, the cations in the water migrate toward cathode and anion toward anode. Can be done by pressing electrical potential difference across the wastewater. It then pushes the electric current, making cations to migrate to the cathode, ion to our anode. And next is the reverse osmosis, and that is used for removal of seawater. Component of sea can be removed. This osmosis is somehow different from the natural osmosis. A water purification process that uses partially permeable membrane to remove ion, unwanted molecule, and unwanted molecule, larger particle from drinking water by applying pressure. In this case, osmosis occurs. Is carried out by pressure known as reverse osmosis. It reduces inorganic content of the waste material, and natural osmosis process by which molecule of solvent tend to pass through semi-permeable membrane from less concentrated solution to more concentrated solution. For example, diagram, and this is the natural from less to high and from high to less. And seawater can be purified by this method by reverse osmosis. The excessive the ion in the seawater can be removed from this process. Then in this case, then you have to apply pressure, and by applying pressure, then high concentrated solution to low concentrated. It's not reverse osmosis. It's very expensive one, and that cannot be done in the underdevelopment country like Nepal, etc. Nepal, Bhutan, Sri Lanka. Its cost is very high. And next is adjustment, that is mostly applied in the less developed countries, because in this process, the carbon having different type of pore can be produced by waste material. For example, wastes of fruit, wastes of uh, mm, uh, uh, different material like the sawdust, then bark of orange, and bark of any fruit. And these waste materials can be used for the production of activated carbon. And activated carbon can remove gaseous particle, ion particle, etc. And in this case, Adsorption means the process of adsorption of molecules of liquid or gases on the surface of solid. And when we make this carbon, then the carbon is so much porous we can expect. The more pores are developed in this case, and more pores are there, then more will be adsorption. Then more surface area. Surface area more, then more substances will be removed from that process. From this process, we can remove gases, we can remove liquid impurities like coloring matter, like arsenic, lead ion, nickel ion, cadmium ion, or iron ion, then fluoride. Most of the pollutant present in the water can remove this process as that has been applied, um, applied in less developed countries like Nepal, Sri Lanka, etc. But it takes long time to prepare activated carbon. Activated carbon means then in last lecture I have shown the picture of the activated carbon. The carbon having well-defined pore. If pores are there, then the liquid or gas molecule will trap on the pore. Means these molecules will deposit on the surface of the pore, and more surface area, more pores are available, then more adsorption. Adsorption means accumulation on the surface. Absorption means throughout the solid particle. And next is the removal of waste input. Waste input should be removed. Then how? Purchase of such material that are durable, reusable, and repairable. And we have to purchase the materials which can last for a long time and which can be repaired, which can be reused. And next is encourage. When you print any message, then double side print should be done, and all the messages should be seen. Let me see, that will that will cause the reduction in the production of waste, and waste production is less, then then we can stabilize ecosystem. And next is that erosion, and that means brings water and air in close contact in order to remove dissolved gases such as carbon dioxide can be removed from the process, and from that process we can remove iron in the water. The iron in water is soluble form, and on aerosol the soluble iron is changed into insoluble, means ferrous hydroxide changed to ferric hydroxide. In this case, that can be done in many houses. Then uh, mm, before collecting water in your tank, they first do aeration. Then in this process, the iron present, soluble iron is changed into insoluble iron by aeration. And next is the again continue. Removal of biomass. Biomass can be removed. The application of biomass highly increased in the production of the low-cost adsorbent with carbon for removal of the air and water pollution. And this hybrid carbon can be used to remove water and air pollutants. And all the biomasses can be used for the production of hybrid carbon. Hybrid carbon being highly porous, they are applied for the removal of pollutants of air and water. And next, biomass utilized in the production of biomass energy, less expensive than fossil fuel. And biomass converted into liquid fuel like biofuel that power car, truck, and tanker. From biomass, we can produce biofuel like rubber gas plant. And biomass plant or animal material used as fuel to produce electricity or heat. For example, wood wasted from forest, farm, and yard can be used for production of activated carbon or for production of biofuel. That should be that should be encouraged by government, and for that process, then for process, building in land, there should be at least 8 आना किनभने आजकल के भने यो काठमाडौँमा धेरै घर बनेछ के भन्छ 4 आना घर बन्छ 4 आनामा घर बनेपछि भने कहाँ प्लान्ट हाल्ने छैन यस कारण चाहिँ कम्तीमा 8 आना भयो भनेदेखि एकदम प्लान्ट हाल्न मिल्छ किनभने वेस्ट मेटेरियललाई थुपारेर प्लान्ट हाल्न मिल्छ तर के भनेदेखि यस कारण गभर्नमेन्टले नि त्यो चाहिँ म्यानेजमेन्ट गर्नुपर्ने हो तर के भनेदेखि गभर्नमेन्ट यहाँ चाहिँ के भन्नु हो विक छ भनौँ कि के भनौँ हैन अब कन्ट्रोल मेजर अफ वाटर पर्सन एप्रोप्रिएट साइट फर ड्रिङ्किङ वाटर the the drinking water storage should be away from resident site, and the site should be cleaned and waste should not be dumped nearby the site, and the site should be kept under supervision of the authorized person. यस कारण चाहिँ यो चाहिँ नि जहाँ चाहिँ नि डिङ्गर स्टोरेज हुन्छ त्यहाँ चाहिँ नि एकदम फार हुनु पर्यो, त्यहाँ चाहिँ फोहोर गर्नु भएन, तर मान्छेको बसेपना टाढा हुनु पर्यो, खालको मान्छे बसेको त्यहाँ चाहिँ पौडी खेल्ने गर्ने काम गर्छ, नुहाउने काम गर्छ, यस कारण चाहिँ द्याट सुड बी केप्ट under supervision on authorized person. Then next is the appropriate laws. Appropriate laws and their application should be done strictly by the, and all the rules and regulations should be strictly followed by industrial and domestic sector. And governments should take strong action on the violation of the laws. आजकल इन्डस्ट्रीमा पनि केमिकल के भन्ने वेस्टबाट के फालेको हुन्छ के भन्ने है फालेको हुन्छ के भन्ने रिभरमा, यसका रिभर चाहिँ एकदम फोहोर हुन्छ, यसका मेन कुरा डोमेस्टिक वेस्टबाट आएको फोहोर डाइरेक्टली इन्डस्ट्रीमा फाल्नुहुन्न। फर्स्ट यु ट्रिट द्याट, ट्रिटमेन्ट भएपछि फाल्ने। बाहिर देशमा के भनेदेखि यो बाहिर देशमा ब्याङ्ककमै यो दायाँ बायाँ घर छ, बिचमा पानी हालेको हुन्छ, त्यहाँ चाहिँ जहाँ के भनेदेखि ढुङ्गा छ के भनेदेखि द्याट इज द वे अफ ट्रान्सपोर्ट गर्छ। यहाँ चाहिँ के भने यहाँ चाहिँ त्यो भयो भनेदेखि बागमतीमै फोहोर फाल्ने काम गर्छ। यस कारण मेन कुरा चाहिँ के भनेदेखि यो गभर्मेन्ट र पिपुल दुई अवेर हुनु पर्यो, ताकि if we do water pollution, then all the person, animal, plant will be affected by water pollution. थाहा हुनु पर्यो। अब next is the recycling. Waste materials can be recycled. Different kind of wastage from industrial effluent, domestic site, thermal power plant, industry should be recycled to beneficial products such as to generate cheaper and fuel gases and electricity. आजकल के भने यो कवाडीहरूले लिन्छन्, पेपर लिन आउँछन्, फ्लाम लिन्छन्, पेपरलाई रिसाइकल गर्छ। यस कारण त्यो पनि राम्रो कुरा हो। यस कारण चाहिँ वेस्ट मटेरियललाई चाहिँ is seen into beneficial products such as to generate cheaper gas, cheaper fuel and gas like electricity, गोबर ग्यास प्लान्ट, अब के भने यो पेपरहरूलाई पनि यो पनि रिसाइकल गर्ने के भने कलेक्सन गरेर है। यस कारण मेन कुरा एन्ड रिसाइक्लिङ इज द की component, key point of the modern waste management. Waste management like एकदम म्यानेज गर्ने चाहिँ एकदम राम्रो रिसाइक्लिङ गर्छ। यहाँ चाहिँ के भने यहाँ फोहोर सबै ठाउँमा फाल्छ है, पेपर पनि त्यहाँ फाल्छ, के भनेदेखि सबै के भनेदेखि यो के भनेदेखि कुहिने चिजहरू पनि अलग्गै फाल्न पर्छ के भनेदेखि, अनि के भने कुहिने चिजबाट के भनेदेखि यो बायोफ्युल र कम्पोस्टमा पाउने काम गर्नुपर्छ छैन। रिसाइक्लेबल मेटेरियल्स लाइक इन्क्लुड many kinds of paper, glasses, metal, plastic, textile, पनि रिसाइकल गर्न सकिन्छ। यस कारण द्याट सुड बी म्यानेज सेपरेटली फर रिसाइक्लिङ प्रोसेस। के भने कम्बाइन भएपछि के भनेदेखि फेरि के भने त्यो के भनेदेखि सेपरेट गर्न गाह्रो हुने भएको गाह्रो हुन्छ। यस कारण अब नेक्स्ट इज द सोइल पोर्सन। देन द एडिसन अफ केमिकल सब्सटेन्सेस लाइक फर्टिलाइजर or pesticide in indefinite proportion to soil, causing reduction of fertility, known as soil pollution. If we add chemical in indefinite proportion, and that is not useful for that, and when we do that, then that will decrease the fertility of soil, that is known as soil pollution. The substances added to soil that alter its properties are called soil pollutant. जुन substance हालेर soil property like change गर्छ, that is known as soil pollutants. And type of soil pollutants are agricultural soil pollution that will cause surface soil pollution and underground soil pollution. हामीले agricultural soil के भने agriculture में के भने पेस्टिसाइड हाल्छ, फर्टिलाइजर हाल्छ, के भने धेरै हालेपछि धेरै फल्छ भन्छ। फर्स्ट चाहिँ then soil pollution गर्छ अनि underground यो surface and underground soil pollution गर्छ। Then soil pollution by industrial effluent and solid waste ले पनि soil pollution गर्छ। That will also cause surface soil pollution and disturbance in soil profile change गर्छ। ल I will show the picture of soil pollution। ल यसले गर्दा है soil pollution जहाँ चाहिँ फोहोर फालेको हुन्छ, फोहोर जाने प्लास्टिक पनि त्यही, सबै टी कुहिने पनि टी नकुहिने पनि त्यही फाल्छ। यस कारण चाहिँ यो कुहिने चिजलाई अल्गाएर के भने फ्रम द्याट प्रोसेस वी क्यान युज प्लास्टिकबाट रिसाइकल गर्ने, अनि के भने यो पेपरबाट पेपर मेटललाई रिसाइकल गर्ने, अनि अरू चाहिँ कुहिनेलाई मल बनाउनु पर्छ भन्ने कुरा छैन। अब टाइप्स अफ सोइल पोल्युसन अगेन कन्टिन्युज। सोइल पोल्युसन ड्यू टु अर्बन एक्टिभिटी के भने सहरमा धेरै मान्छे भएपछि सोइल पोल्युसन अटोमेटिक हुन्छ। जति मान्छे धेरै भयो उति चाहिँ उति के हुन्छ फोहोर बन्यो होइन हो, के भने खानेकुरामा के भने सबै खाने त होइन, केही फाल्नुपर्छ होइन हो। यस कारण त्यसले गर्दा पनि अर्बन एक्टिभिटीले पनि सोइल पोल्युसन गर्छ। एन्ड कज अफ सोइल पोल्युसनको कारण के हो? इन्क्रिजिङ जनसङ्ख्या वृद्धि भएपछि, सहरीकरण भएपछि, इन्डस्ट्रियलाइजेसन भएपछि सोइल पोल्युसन। इन्डस्ट्री के गर्छ? इन्डस्ट्रीले के गर्छ, इन्डस्ट्रीले के भने वेस्ट मेटेरियल्सहरू डाइरेक्टली फाल्ने गर्छ है। गभर्मेन्ट यस कारण गभर्मेन्टले चाहिँ कुनै रुल बनाओस् ताकि कुनै पनि इन्डस्ट्रियल वेस्टलाई फाल्नुभन्दा पहिला फर्स्ट ट्रिट गर्ने है। इन्डस्ट्रीमा काम गर्न गाह्रो छ के भने सहिलो छ, तर के भने वेस्टबाट ट्रिटमेन्ट गर्नु गाह्रो छ होइन। यस कारण चाहिँ के भने प्रायःले गर्दैन नेपालमा, तर बाहिर एकदम नियम कडा हुन्छ है। यस कारण चाहिँ मेन कुरा इन्डस्ट्रीबाट आएको कुनै पनि फोहोरलाई ट्रिटमेन्ट गरेर फाल्नुपर्छ। आफ्टर ट्रिटिङ देन दे हेभ टु release into source of water and use of chemical fertilizer and pesticide in agriculture. Chemical fertilizer गरेर पनि soil pollution हुन्छ, अनि insecticide गरेर पनि युज हुन्छ। and excessive irrigation increase धेरै स्ट्राइ गर्दाखेरि पनि that will soil make soil के हुन्छ, and then decreasing nitrogen fixing capacity of bacteria। यस कारण नाइट्रोजन फिक्सिङ के भने ब्याक्टेरियाको नाइट्रोजन फिक्सिङ क्यापेसिटी पनि कम गर्छ के भने salty soil भयो। and dead body of animal and waste disposal of various materials utilized by human beings। human beings हरूले डेड बडी फाल्ने आफ्नो जनावरहरू चाहिँ जहाँ मरेको छ जहाँ पनि त्यही फाल्दाखेरि वेस्ट प्रकारले फाल्दाखेरि पनि त्यसले गरेर बायोसफर हुन्छ। अब अर्को देन लिकेज अफ वेस्टेज फ्रम सेनिटरी सेवेज, सेप्टिक ट्याङ्क लिकेज गरेर पनि हुन्छ। एसिड रेन when fume release from industry get mixed with acid। इन्डस्ट्रीबाट आएको चाहिँ your fume mix with rain and then fall on the ground, then that makes soil pollution। and fuel leakage from automobile parking गर्दाखेरि र गाडी गुड्दाखेरि फ्युल लिकेज हुन्छ होइन। फ्युल लिकेज हुन्छ, यो मोबिल चुइन्छ, आयल चुइन्छ, त्यसले गर्दाखेरि अनि के भन्छ चुहिएको आयललाई देन वास अवे बाई रेन वाटर, देन जाने कहाँ सिपेज भएर जान्छ नियरबाई सोइलमा। unhealthy waste management techniques which are characterized by release of sewage into large dumping groundमा के भने रिभर सँगसँगै डम्पिङ साइट हाल्दाखेरि पनि सोइल पोल्युसन हुन्छ। and deforestation and soil erosionले पनि then that will cause soil pollution। and percolation of contaminated water into soil, यस कारण वाटरमा कन्टामिनेट भएको बिस्तारै जान्छ सोइलमा। and seepage from landfill साइडबाट सिपेज भए पनि then soil pollution हुन्छ। then again sources of soil pollution, acid rainले गर्दा पनि soil pollution हुन्छ हैन। acid rainले विभिन्न जनि ग्यासहरू पार्छ हैन, मिस हुन्छ and then go down at the earth को सबसे जान्छ। then excessive use of pesticide, chemical fertilizer and urban solid waste ले गर्दा पनि हुन्छ। disposal of industrial waste such as organic, inorganic compound, non-biodegradable substances, fly ash, domestic solid waste such as metallic materials, glasses, plastic bottle, garbage, paper, filter like जहाँ पाए फाल्दाखेरि पनि हुन्छ। and when they are thrown irregularly, then that will affect chemical and biological property of soil। then again source of soil pollution, again normal to compress wastage from college, hospital and pathology। यस कारण यो आजकल धेरै हस्पिटल छ, धेरै pathology ल्याब छ, धेरै कलेज छ के भनेदेखि from these side then large number of wastage will be released and directly released into the nearby places। wastage from research lab बाट आएको गर्छ। then storage and disposable radioactive wastage, रे निकाल्ने वेस्टेजहरूलाई स्टोर गर्दाखेरि डिस्पोज गर्दै अलग्गै गरेर that should be managed separately। हेर्नु यहाँ सोइल पोल्युसनले गर्दाखेरि के भयो, यो डाइनेसबाट आएको कलर वाटर। अनि यहाँ के भनेदेखि soil is damaged, then half part of trees is leafless and half partमा ग्रीन छ यहाँ। यस कारण यो चाहिँ यो लिफ चाहिँ एकदम हेल्दी भयो, यहाँको लिफ चाहिँ नि एकदम, अनि के सोइल पोल्युसन के भयो ड्राइनेस भयो, ड्राई। यहाँ पनि हेर सोइल कस्तो रङ छ, यस कारण चाहिँ सोइल पोल्युसन पिक्चर हो। अब इफेक्ट अफ सोइल पोल्युसन, इन केस अफ इफेक्ट अफ सोइल पोल्युसनमा देन रिडक्सन अफ नाइट्रोजन फिक्सेसन प्रोसेस, नाइट्रोजनलाई के भनेदेखि is the process by which atmospheric nitrogen is converted either by natural or other process into nitrogen such as ammonia मा चेन्ज गर्ने नि, right? and acidity of soil increased soil pollution and reduction of vegetation। if soil is polluted then the person of plant will not occur regularly and decrease in plant production, right? Rather, loss of soil and nutrient. Soil loss हुन्छ. Soil the soil ho. If soil is polluted, the soil is not suitable for cultivation, and soil pollution will decrease the nutrient content and decrease in the growth of children. Soil pollution ले गर्दाखेरि पनि यो बच्चाहरूको ग्रोथ चाहिँ हुन्छ किनभनेदेखि यो पोल्टेड सोइलमा ग्रो गरेको फुडहरू खानाले के भनेदेखि चिल्ड्रेनको ग्रोथ कम हुन्छ यस कारण मेन we take the food growth in grow in soil. If soil is polluted, then that will decrease the growth of children, and polluted soil releases the polluted gases. Disturbance in the balance of flora and fauna. Plant को balance पनि कम हुन्छ, and disturbance in crop production थाहा छ. When soil polluted, then soil that will cause reduction in the crop production and increase in the salinity of soil. Salty nature पनि soilमा बढ्छ, and effect of agri animal life due to pollution runoff into water. के भन्छ यसका चाहिँ यो चाहिँ नि यो वाटर बडीबाट आएको पोल्युसन चाहिँ नि ले गर्दाखेरि यो एग्री एनिमल पनि लाइफ हुन्छ भने सोइल पोल्युसन भने सोइलबाट बगेको वाटरबाट आएपछि द्याट विल इफेक्ट अन द aquatic life and damage of soil structure. Soil structure damage हुन्छ. Clay को ionic structure damage हुन्छ, and corrosion of foundation and pipeline. If soil polluted, that will effect that is corrosion of pipeline that is fitted underground. And next is leukemia. In case of leukemia and other cancer, in case of human being, headache, nausea, and if we take the food grown in polluted soil, then that type of effect will be observed. Eyes and skin rash, soil like direct effect गरे भने त्यस्तो सोइलमा ग्रो गरेको भने यो चाहिँ नि यो प्रोडक्ट खा भने यस्तो हुन्छ किडनी ड्यामेज. If soil polluted with mercury, then we if we take the soil the product grown in soil contaminated with mercury, then kidney damaged by mercury poisoning, and depression of central nervous system, liver damage by cyclodine poisoning. Cyclodine भन्ने chemical चाहिँ नि त्यो भएपछि liver damage हुन्छ. Next is control of soil pollution. Then we have to control it. The forestation to control soil erosion. If soil erosion stop, then soil pollution can be decreased. And for that process, then we have to plant trees. And cropping techniques should be improved to control the growth of weed. Cropping गर्दाखेरि एकदम टेक्निक गर्नु जेटिएसँग मिलेर एग्रो एक्सपर्टसँग मिलेर चाहिँ ग्रो गर्दाखेरि एकदम राम्रो हुन्छ. The use of pesticide and fertilizer should be minimized. Pesticide that should be minimized. Then better to use natural method of pest control and use of the from biomass and recycling of paper, plastic, and other materials reduce the control of soil pollution. And industrial and sewage waste should be treated well before discharge. सोइलमा फाल्नुभन्दा पहिला इन्डस्ट्रीबाट आएको वेस्टलाई डोमेस्टिक वेस्टलाई ट्रिट गरेर फाल्नुपर्छ. And use of sanitary landfill where untreated wastes should be dug into large from various sources are buried and covered with soil. खाल्टो खनेर के भने खाल्टो खनेर जानु हामीले त्यो के भनेदेखि वेस्ट माटर फुल राखेर के भनेदेखि तुरुन्तै केही समय लाग्छ सोइल पोल्युसन हुन त के भने तुरुन्तै पोल्युसन हुन्न. अब अगेन गर्न ban of use of plastic bag below 20 micron and mulching process to prevent sand shifting. Mulching भनेको कुनै पनि ल्यान्डलाई कल्टिभेसन गर्नुभन्दा पहिला प्लान्ट र के भने यो प्लान्ट मेटेरियलले छोप्ने गर्छ अनि स्यान्ड उड्ने काम पनि कम हुन्छ. एन्ड बिल्ड अ ट्री एज विन्ड ब्रेकर. त्यस कारण विन्ड ब्रेकरलाई ट्रीको बेट लगाउनु पर्छ होइन. ट्री रोप्नु पर्यो होइन. अनि के भनेदेखि ट्रीले हावा छिर्ने काम गर्छ अनि के भनेदेखि त्यो स्यान्ड सिटिङ हुने पनि कम हुन्छ. अनि अन कोअपरेसन सुड बी डन. क्रोपलाई एक वर्ष धान एकपल्ट अर्कै रोप. यस कारण मिस क्रोप हो. आदिमा अर्कै क्रोप आदिमा अस्को त्यो पनि गर्दाखेरि पनि सोइल पोषणबाट कम हुन्छ। इन्करेजिङ सोसियल एन्ड एग्रोफोरेस्ट्री प्रोग्राम, हरेक ठाउँमा प्रोग्राम गर्ने सोइल पोषणलाई कसरी गर्ने विभिन्न प्रोग्राम गर्ने, अन्डरटेकिङ अफ मेनी पोषण अवेरनेस प्रोग्राम, त्यो पनि निड धेरै प्रोग्रामहरूलाई चाहिँ नन गभर्मेन्टले पनि प्रोग्रामहरू प्लानिङ गर्ने, एन्ड सिक लज एन्ड द एप्लिकेसन मोनिटर्ड बाई गभर्मेन्ट टाइम टु टाइम, कहाँ कहाँ फल फलेछ, कसले फलेछ फल, यस कारण त्यो ल चाहिँ नि एप्लिकेसन चाहिँ नि पुरा गर्नु पर्यो, तर यहाँ गरिरहेको छैन है। अब नेक्स्ट इज युज अफ क्याटल डङ टु जेनेरेट मिथेन। क्याटल डङ, क्याटलले फोहोर पालेको गाई भैँसीले फोहोर पारेको गोबरहरूलाई मिथेन जेनेरेट गर्नलाई प्रयोग गरौँ। एन्ड युज बायोडिग्रेडेबल अर्गानिक वेस्ट फर द जेनेरेसन अफ बायोग्यास, बायोग्यास निकाल्नको लागि बायोडिग्रेडेबल अर्गानिक वेस्ट जसले पनि यो अर्गानिक वेस्ट मतलब यु क्यान प्रिपेयर बायोग्यास। एन्ड बायोमेडिकल वेस्ट सुड बी केयरफुल डिस्पोज। बायोमेडिकल वेस्ट एकदम डेन्जर हुन्छ, द्याट सुड बी म्यानेज केयरफुल्ली बिकज इट विल कज हार्मफुल हेल्थ hazard। एन्ड एडप्सन अफ सस्टेनेबल एग्रिकल्चर ह्याभिङ, अर्गानिक फार्मिङ गर्ने, युज अफ बायो फर्टिलाइजर, बायो इन्टिग्रेटेड पेस्ट म्यानेजमेन्ट एन्ड प्रपर वाटर म्यानेजमेन्ट गर्नुपर्छ। धेरै पानी पनि हाल्नुहुन्न सोइलमा। बायो फर्टिलाइजर मिन्स द अर्गानिजम that enrich the nutrient quality of soil. For example, as azospirine, rhizobium, they are the example of biofertilizer. They can be used and organic farming गर्नु पर्यो। आजकल के भने अर्गानिक फार्मिङ मोस्टली एप्लाइड हो है। अब हामी जाउँ that ends the soil portion. Now next topic is the again just in brief, what do you mean by inorganic polymer? अब के मैले अर्गानिक पोलिमरलाई एकछिन भनौँ है। अर्गानिक पोलिमर नि अर्गानिक पोलिमर सिम्पल एक्जाम्पल हो polyethylene, correct? And this polyethylene is formed by combination of large number of ethylene molecule in presence of heat, high temperature, pressure, and catalyst. And when large number of this ethylene molecule combine, then a molecule known as polyethylene is formed, and that is known as polymer. And in this case, this organic polymer contains carbon atoms only in the backbone chain. This is the main chain. Main chain is surrounded by red background, and carbon present in the organic polymer. In organic polymer, the main chain or backbone chain contain only carbon, and organic polymers are such polymer which contain carbon atom in backbone chain or main chain. Now, and inorganic polymer are those polymer in which backbone chain contains other atoms like silicon, sulfur, phosphorus, nitrogen, etc. than carbon atoms. In these polymer, carbons are not present, but present they are outside of the backbone chain, and these are known as inorganic polymer. For example, polyphosphagen and silicones, not silicon. Silicon is element, and silicon's plural form is polymer. And in these polymer, then backbone chain contain other atoms than carbon. In polyphosphagen, then phosphorus and nitrogen in backbone chain, and carbon are present outside the backbone chain. Carbon may be present, but they are outside the backbone chain. In silicones, the silicon and oxygen, they are different from carbon, and carbon also present. The R means alkyl group or aryl group. Then aryl group contains carbon, but they are present outside the backbone chain. And in organic molecule, like in organic molecule, all the atoms are bonded to one another by covalent bond. And where R means organic group or alkyl or phenyl group. Inorganic polymer offers some properties not found in organic materials like low temperature flexibility, their electrical conductivity, and non-inflammability. बल्दैन यो सल्फर भएको कारण नि इर्गानिक पोलिमर बढ्छ, तर अर्गानिक पोलिमर बढ्छ नि, हैन? Our next is the properties of inorganic polymer. Inorganic polymers are generally harder, stronger, and more brittle than organic polymer. For example, organic polymer example is bakelite. Bakelite is why stronger and harder? Because bakelite in bakelite, then that contains cross-linked man-made, cross-linked structure between them. In most of the organic polymers have cross-linked structure, so known as they are harder and stronger than organic polymer. Inorganic polymer don't burn except the polymer containing sulfur. They melt at high temperature, not burn, but only melt. They are much less ductile than organic polymer. So they can be extended much as they can be extended much as तान्ने मिल्ने नहीं लाइक अर्ग्यानिक तान्ने मिल्ने 12% तान्ने मिल्छ लाइक 12% भन्दा बढी तानेपछि चुइन्छ अर्ग्यानिक पोलिमर तर अर्ग्यानिक पोलिमरलाई तान्ने मिल्छ 25% सम्म यसका चाहिँ so they can't be extended much as organic which can be extended about 12% while organic polymers such as polythene can be stretched about 25% before breaking. Now, inorganic polymer can be obtained in pure crystalline as well as amorphous form, while organic polymers are partially crystalline and amorphous form. Because of having cross-linked structure, they have high density of covalent bond and are generally, not all, most of inorganic polymers are generally harder or stronger, stiffer means stronger than organic polymer. And most of inorganic polymer being highly water highly polar भएकोले dissolve in polar solvent. And next is type of inorganic polymer. Inorganic polymers are mainly of many types. Among them, the following are of the important inorganic polymer, and they are silicon-based polymer, silicon-based polymer that include silicons or polysilogen. Silicons, plural, polymer, and also called polysilogen. And phosphorus-based polymer that include polyphosphagens and that contain nitrogen and phosphorus in first slide that I have shown. And surface-based polymer that examples of that include polymeric sulfur nitride, polymeric sulfur, and sulfur gases. And next, it is. अब फेरि अर्को पऱ्यो भनेदेखि देन आई हेभ टु ओपन नेक्स्ट फाइल ओपन गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ अहिले यति गरौँ होइन ओके हेलो हेलो के अरू पर्ने टाइम पाइस
हुन्छ सर हुन्छ आजलाई
हुन्छ म एकछिन भाइ एकछिन पछि स्लाइड
स्लाइड शेयर गर्नु होला सर
हुन्छ सेयर गर्छु म अर्को फाइल चाहिँ मैले यो आज अलिकति हेरेँ एकछिन 1 मिनट बन्द गर्नु Share what? Hello, भाई sharing भगवान
हजुर सर
share भयो
हजुर
अब के भने the first example is silicon or polystyrene and silicon बारे अलिकति पढौँ है अब सिलिकन भनेको चाहिँ के भने तिमीले देखे होला हैन यो चाहिँ नि यो कुकिङ युटेन्सिलमा सिलिकन चाहिँ कोटेड गर्दाखेरि हाई टेम्परेचरमा पनि त्यो के भन्ने केही पनि हुन्न अब त्यो प्यान कुकिङ चाहिँ नि प्यानहरु चाहिँ नि फ्राई गर्नको निम्ति युज गरिन्छ के भनेदेखि सिलिकन कोटेड प्यान सिलिकन कोटेड यो प्यानहरुमा चाहिँ नि हामीले कुनै पनि चीज भुजेर खाँदाखेरि कालो हुन्न है टेफ्लोन भन्दा पनि राम्रो छ अब silicons are polymeric organosilicon compound containing silicon oxide silicon bond linkage and silicon carbon your R is carbon and they are generally stable because of presence of strong silicon oxide and silicon carbide bond your silicon oxide bond strong silicon carbon bond strong by they are stable a general formula of silicon is this one and R can be one of the variety of organic groups and silicon may be obtained in different form linear form cyclic form or clustering form now next is and silicons are called inorganic polymer why and silicon can be called organic polymer but 25% organic 75% inorganic polymer and finally we can call silicon as the inorganic polymer right and they are called inorganic polymer because of following reason number one high percentage of ionic character of silicon oxide bond silicon oxide ionic character the inorganic polymer silicon oxide bond and presence of other atoms than carbon in backbone chain much only carbons are there carbons there because of these two reasons then we can call inorganic polymer but they can be called as organic polymer because of following organic groups are attached to silicon the organic groups are attached to silicon and from that reason then we call organic polymer but organic polymer को जुन भन्ने काम छ त्यो एकदम कम तर के भने at last we can call inorganic polymer only one reason is used to call organic polymer and two main reasons are used to call inorganic polymer and finally we can call silicon as inorganic polymer organic main chain ma carbon छैन carbon भए पनि they are present outside the backbone chain अब यसलाई सुरु गरौँ न and we can prepare silicon by different ways inorganic polymers मा सबभन्दा धेरै चाहिने important यही हो that may be asked many times in the exam है then we can prepare silicon and that involves following step the preparation of chlorosylene by reaction between Grignard reagent and silicon chloride and Grignard reagent and silicon chloride when reacted with each other then that will produce chlorosylene chlorosylene is the alkyl or allyl derivative of silicon chloride and that reaction should be carried out in dry ether because Grignard reagent is very reactive when we use one molecule of Grignard reagent then this compound is formed then R1 when two molecules then R2 when three molecules R3 in this way these chlorosylenes are formed and these chlorosylenes are different from one another in boiling point first you have to separate these components from mixture by means of fractional distillation because the different component of mixture are different from one another in boiling point so all these components from mixture can be separated by means of fractional distillation and chlorosylane can also be prepared by heating chloroalkene chlorobenzene with silicon in presence of copper as catalyst at 300 celsius and the first one is better fat and we can prepare chlorosylane by another method also this is one directly used haloalkane, and silicon. And in this case, copper is catalyst. Temperature used should be 300 Celsius. And in this R value, methyl in first reaction, phenyl in the second reaction. And after preparing chlorine, then chlorines are hydrolyzed to obtain silicol or silanol. The hydrolysis should be carried out in inert condition by using nitrogen gas or argon gas, because during this reaction, different type of reactive compounds are formed. So the reactions should be carried out in inert environment, or either by using nitrogen gas or by using argon gas. And in this process, the chlorine of silicol or silanol, uh, mm, mm, the chlorine of chlorines are replaced by OS of water. This is known as silanol or silicol or silanol. The hydrolysis of chlorine will form silanol or silicol. This is like a silicol. And some silicol contain 3 OH group, some contain 2, and some contain 1 in this way. And next is then in last step, then we prepare then silicon from silicol or silanol. Then what type of silicon form depend upon the what type of silicon used. The silicon may contain 1 OH group, silicon may contain 2 OH group, silicon may contain 3 OH group. If we use 1 OH group silicon, then we are able to get dimer, dimer, dimer. For example, then this 1 OH group silicon, silanol, react with next silicon, and in this process, what is lost? And after this, the product form, then no polymerization. To form polymerization, then it should have OH group, but OH group are not present. So after this reaction, the reaction will stop, and dimer is formed. Two molecule combine, and this compound is known as dimer. After formation of dimer, the polymerization doesn't occur due to absence of hydroxyl group. From OH group, water is lost. From one OH, hydrogen, from one OH. In this way, water is lost in this reaction. When we use the silicon having one OH group, then we are able to get dimer. The next is, then when we use silicon having two OH group, then we get long chain linear silicon. And in this case, then two OH group are present in this way, and after first reaction, the product again contains OH group and again polymerize, and on polymerization, then that will form long straight chain polymer. And during this reaction, some cyclic silicons are also formed. Such type of silicons are also formed. Closed chain silicons are also formed during this reaction. And next is when we use silicon having three OH group, then we will get cross-linked silicon. The polymerization of the silicol containing three OH group form compressed cross-linked silicol. And this three OH group present and combine, and the polymer form again contain more OH group. And first one layer, this layer combine, एक खालको लेयरलाई कम्बाइन गर्दाखेरि यहाँ लिङ्क भयो, यहाँ लिङ्क भयो, यहाँ छ नि फेरि हुन्छ यसका the permission occurs in one step, two step, three step. This cross-link polymer. In this way, then when we use the silicol or silanol having three OH group, then we will get cross-link type of polymer. Time गर्छ? Time सक्यो? हेलो?
सक्यो होला सर टाइम 25 जति त भयो सर
यहाँहरुको है के पढ्ने?
सर हैन
होइन, भयो सुरु भयो।
लामो
हाम्रो
पनि
क्लास
हुने
पनि
भने
छ सर
अघि म के भने त्यो प्लानिङ गरेर आएको थिएँ अलिकति बढी गर्नु थियो थ्याङ्क यू है ल आफ्टर 1 आवर देन आई अपलोड द अल द स्लाइड है यो स्लाइडलाई म अपलोड गर्छु है है आफ्टर 1 आवरमा देन यु क्यान डाउनलोड फ्रम फाइल ल थ्याङ्क यू ए आई विल टेक